Guys, today is November the 16th, and we're going to go over what we're doing today in class. So first, we're going to go over our discussion real fast. Our discussion says, what are the steps in answering this question? Now, I've literally put this question in Greek so that you guys would figure out how to do it with the process, but not necessarily having to do it mathematically. Now, I'll do it both ways, but my expectation for you guys was simply that you were able to tell me what the steps were. So what are the steps? So if I'm answering for A, the first thing that I'm going to do, if I look down, A, it's already on the left, so I don't need to do symmetric property. I'll probably draw a river, particularly if I was doing it by hand. Then there is a number in the denominator, so I'm going to multiply out the denominator. Okay. There's no distributing, no combining of terms, but I do want to move that inverse property. I want to use it, and I want to move this information over to the right side of the equation. All right. Now, that really should solve our entire equation. So let's see how we did. So we're going to draw a river. We're going to multiply out the fraction. So I'm going to go over here. And again, this wasn't a part that I was necessarily requiring you guys to do, but I'll do it. Multiply out the denominator. So that's going to leave me with alpha plus, and then right here, this symbol right here is known as phi. So we're going to say phi lambda, this is really lamb, is equal to sigma lamb. So when I multiplied, I had to multiply that lamb onto both the sigma and both of these different symbols. Now, I was not necessarily requiring that you do this, but I felt like it was the right thing for me to do to show you. So then our answer would then be, because we're subtracting out this symbol, and again, it would be phi and then lamb, phi lambda. So I'm going to say A is equal to sigma lambda minus phi lamb. If you ever go to college, Greek life is in these letters too. But again, I did not expect this information so much as I expected the 1, the 2, 3, and 7, or at least 3 and the 7. All right. So it looks like most people do, in fact, have that done. So we'll go back to my home page, and I'll come here to Monday, and we're going to go to this Desmos activity. And in this Desmos activity, we are going to solve some equations. So let's go ahead and get into this activity. You know, so often I have students that tell me that they never use math in the real world. So today I'm going to again tell you guys that you do use math in the real world. And so often we do this every morning. When we're sleeping, we hit the snooze button. Well, I know that when you hit it on my phone that you have an 8-minute snooze. Well, I've got to do that math in my head in the morning, every single morning. My snooze might go off at 6:30. I know that I can get up at 6:45 and still be good to go. So I might hit it once. And then I've got to make a decision once it's 6:38. Do I hit it again? Because that would make it 6:46. Or do I wake up so I'm not going behind? So those are some of the things that we certainly do use in the real world. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to log in here. And I'm going to go ahead and start. So the first equation says when I'm making rice, and I need 1 part dry rice and 2 parts water. Okay? So if I'm solving for how much rice I have, how would I solve that? So it's very important to me that you guys understand the y and what you're doing. So I want to get that 2 out of there, so I'm going to divide by the coefficient. That's really the only thing that I need to do. And then I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to hit this check mark right here, and I'm going to say 2r divided by 2 is equal to w, because the thing that I want on the left is a single r. So 2r divided by 2 is equal to w over 2. And then you have r equals w divided by 2, because these two r's will cancel each other out, leaving me with r is equal to w divided by 2. So using this equation, okay, so using the equation r equals w divided by 2, I'm going to do the next problem. Okay, so r equals w divided by 2. I carried that to the other side. It says if I have 4 cups of water, how much rice can I make? Well, all I'm going to do here is put the 4 cups of water right here where the w is. So this is going to be r equals 4 divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is, you can make 2 cups of rice. And that's actually a lot more rice than you think. So 2 cups of rice, that would be my final answer. Okay? So let's go ahead and go to the next problem. All right? The next problem says, what is the distance formula if I'm solving for t? So the distance formula if I'm solving for t. So I'm going to do the exact same thing I did a second ago. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to say I want the t on the left side of the equation. So I'm going to use the symmetric property. Okay. And if I do that, then I simply have to switch the equation to RT equals D. All right. Then the second thing says divide by the coefficient. So I'm going to say divide by the coefficient. RT, I want that T to stand by itself. So I'm going to have RT divided by R is equal to D divided by R. Now again, there's an R in the numerator and the denominator. So you're going to have T is equal to D divided by R. Okay, so I'm going to use that equation. T is equal to D divided by R. Okay, and I'm just writing that all in there so I have it. All right, so it says now you have solved the last problem for T. Based on that formula, how long would it take my drive to drive straight through to Niagara Falls? The distance there, so T equals D over R. The distance is 750 miles, and the rate is 50 miles per hour. So I'm going to say T is equal to the distance, which is 750, divided by 50. Okay? So then you would simply go to your Desmos graphing calculator and do 750 divided by 50, and it gives me 15 hours. Okay, so I'd come down here and I'd click 15. All right, and that would be how I'd solve that problem. Okay. Now I am unclicking a lot of this because in my next class I don't want to have all the answers sitting there. Next problem says, how do I solve volume? LWH. So I'm going to use the symmetric property because I'm solving for L. I'm going to hit the formula, which is LWH is equal to V. All right. Now, the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by the coefficient. And so the coefficient is any number that I want out of there. So I have LWH divided by divided by W and H is equal to V divided by WH. See, whatever I divide or multiply by on the left, I have to do it on the right too. So I'm just trying to show you that I'm doing it on both sides. And when I do that, I know that the W and the H will disappear. So if L equals V divided by WH. L is equal to V divided by WH. Okay, so again, I'm going to use that exact same formula. So L is equal to V divided by WH, and I just write it down so I don't forget it from one side of the equation to the other. I will delete it out of here, so my next class I already have it down. I'll hit next, and it says, what is the volume if I know that the volume is 50 cubic feet, the width is 5 feet, and the height is 5 feet. Okay, so L is equal to V, which is 50 feet, divided by the width, which is 5 feet, and the height, which also happens to be 5 feet. So 50 is going to be, this is now going to become 50 divided by 25. If you guys can put that in your calculator, you certainly can. But 50 divided by 25 is 2. So my answer would be right there. Okay. Now, the next problem, number 8, we're solving for our rate if we get a bonus. So if I get a $50 bonus, my work rate is my wage is my rate times my time. So again, we're going to solve for T. How much time does it take? Okay. So to solve for my rate, so the first thing I'm going to do is the symmetric property. So in some ways, I want you guys to get robotic in what you're doing, but in a lot of ways, I want you to think about it before you do it. So if we flip this to the other side, I want to move my variable to the right, or not so much my variable as my constant to the right, which is 50. And then I'm going to divide by a coefficient. Right, so it should be starting to get pretty automatic with how you go down this string of events. So this is going to be RT plus 50 is equal to W. The inverse property is going to be RT is equal to W minus 50. Okay, I got that 50 to the other side. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide all this by the thing I don't want, which in this case is RT. So again, I'll do this as 2 steps. You guys will get to a point where you don't need it as 2 steps anymore. Is equal to W minus 50 divided by R. Okay, so this would then become the formula thing, T equals 50 minus W minus 50. And again, I can do W minus 50 by highlighting it and hitting divide. So you can do it that way if you prefer. Okay. It's better practice to put it in parentheses, but you can do it either way. But it has to be, the R has to be underneath both. Okay, so let's go ahead and take that information, and we are going to say T is equal to W minus 50 divided by R. Okay, so we have T is equal to W minus 50 divided by R. We just solved for that. So now it says you just solved the last problem for T based on the formula. How long would it take to make $500 if you make $10 an hour? So I have my rate, which is $10 an hour, and my wage, which is $500. That's how much I have to make. So I have T is equal to my wage, which is $500, minus the bonus, divided by my rate, which is $10. Okay, and I guess I can keep this in black, just kind of keep consistency there. So this is going to be equal to 450 divided by 10. And you guys should know you can knock those two zeros off, and that's going to make 45. Again, you could have just put that whole equation into your calculator and gotten the 45. But I didn't want your parents to think that I needed to use my calculator to divide 450 by 10. All right, so that would be my answer. All right, so now number 10. Number 10, I'm just simply solving equations now. Now I'm just simply solving for the letter I. So if I'm going to do that, I don't need to use the symmetric property. It's already over there. I could certainly start with drawing a river. But because I'm just doing it on my computer here, I'm going to put multiply by the fraction. I'm going to press this I button. So the radical button, 3I plus 3 is equal to 345. Because 15 times 9 is 135. So I don't know what I was thinking. 135. It's a very good thing I checked that. That's kind of embarrassing. So second thing is I am going to use the inverse property to move my constants to the right. All right, so I'm going to move this plus 3 to the right, and that's going to be minus 3. And I think I can do that without making a mistake. Is 132. Okay, now to get the I all by itself, I'm going to divide by the coefficient again. 132 is 44. So I'll come right here, and I'll say I, and again, I'm going to hit this. I is equal to, and you can even do this if you wanted to. I is equal to 1. Is equal to 44, excuse me. It's equal to 44. All right. Boom. Yep. Now, you can check that equation by simply doing this. So, checking my answer, and this is something that because we've done literal equations, we've gotten a little lazy on. This is going to end up being 3 times 44 plus 3. And we want to know what that equals. Okay, and we can just grab this information. We can put it into our Desmos calculator. And that equals 135. And I wanted it to equal 135. Oh, I'm sorry. This should have all been divided by 9. Because I want my answer to be 15. I want to go back to the very original problem. And that will be 15. Okay. So that is the correct answer. Okay. Now I'm going to undo that for the same reason I told you all before. So the last thing is solve for the letter C. This is one of the problems that I like to do because it looks harder than it is. There's a couple ways you could do this. It's already on the left. However, you could move it to the right and make it positive. I'm going to do it with our steps. So I'm going to use the inverse property. And that's going to be negative C is equal to G minus ABX. Now, the trick here is that you all might get confused that the letter C is negative. So in that scenario, you would need to divide, and you're dividing by -1, which ultimately means you're just switching all of the signs. So you'd have C equals negative G plus ABX. Now, some people don't like to divide by negative. So the other thing you could have actually done, all right, so this is another way to do the same problem. I could have used the symmetric property for a second, and I know that the C is already on the left, but it's a negative. So I could have said G is equal to ABX minus C. And then I could have used this inverse property right here. Is I'm going to make this G plus C is equal to ABX, right? And then I will use the seventh inverse property to take out that G. So I would have C is equal to negative G plus ABX. And I just put the negative G in the front so it was consistent with the other one. You could have said ABX minus G and that would have been the same thing. All right, so those are the two ways to answer that problem. So math is a very flexible subject. That's one of the reasons I like teaching math. It's because you can do things different way. You can use my rules in different orders if you really wanted to. But ultimately, you do need to come to the same answer in the end. So hopefully that helped you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, a great Monday. Make sure you're ready for the quiz on Tuesday. If you have not already taken it, additionally, please make sure that you are prepared to do your IXLs. Your IXLs this week are J6 and J7, and they will